Yesterday, I showed you how I'd been reading the winning stories from the Welsh Books Council Delightful Schools Writing Competition and how I decided how I was going to illustrate each story. In part 2 today, I'll show you how I go from a rough sketch to a piece of finished artwork. But let's not talk about it, let's do it. In this story by Catrin Watson-Jones of Aberconwy High School, Nye falls into a virtual reality game where he meets the wicked Segatendo. I felt we needed to see Nye wearing his Oculus Rift headset being zapped by Segatendo, so I did some research on the headsets and based the illustration on a sketch that I'd previously drawn in PC World.
So it's kind of working, these little sketches. This paper I'm using is called layout paper, so it's 50 grams, so it's very thin paper. Used to be called bank paper because, I don't know, because the banks used it. So I can see what's going on through here, and so I can now make this much more sort of formal now. And we want to have a strap going across the front like that. We'll probably have some sticking out there as well. We want to see his smiley mouth. And now I have to think in terms of layers, what's the nearest thing to me? So the character Segatendo is going to be kind of nearest to me, so I'll draw him first.
Who's described as a 3-foot-tall sprite with fairy wings and a pair of blue shorts and red shirt. A large gold crown was placed on his messy blonde hair.
I've come over the years to think of, when I'm drawing shoes, I come to think of them as being triangles, and that kind of blocks them in really well, I've found. So there are, sometimes you can just illustrate, and sometimes you know what you're doing. This is sort of fairly complicated, and it's kind of got to fit in a space, and so it needs to be planned. And we want lots of little stars and things around there. So here finally is my rough, and now I'm going to get my light table out, and this is an LED kind of thing. When I plug it in, the light comes on, and I can stick my drawing on there. And then I'm getting some quite heavy cartridge paper, which is kind of what I like working on. You can get expensive watercolour papers or whatever, but I found cartridges just fine. As an illustrator, I'm not expecting my artwork to go up on walls and in picture frames. So the archival quality of the paper and that sort of thing doesn't matter quite so much. If you're a painter, a watercolor painter, and you're doing landscapes and things like that people want to put on their walls, then you need to make sure that your paints are the highest quality, so they're not going to fade in the light, and all sorts of things like that. And the paper is the best quality, that's not going to bleach and do all sorts of strange things. Whereas if you're an illustrator, then you're just basically doing a job. Some illustrators sell their work afterwards, but they have a particular style, I think, which is a very collectible style. I don't think the kind of illustrations I do are the kind of things that people kind of buy and sort of stick up on gallery walls, really. I'm a book illustrator. My illustrations are meant to be in books. And I know I do lots of videos on YouTube, and people always ask me about this pen. It's the Redrawing Graphic, and it's a pen I've taken a long time finding. Well, they haven't been making them that long, actually, but Redrawing are a very old German firm, and they used to make these special pens, which I first started with, and used to spend half the week cleaning them and getting them to work. And now this is a disposable kind of version, and the ink is very, very dark, and it's waterproof. It dries waterproof, which for me is very important, because that means that I can paint watercolour over the top, and it doesn't then sort of drip and bleed into the colours and things. So, and I think as an illustrator, you find the medium that works for you. And with me, it's always been pen and ink and watercolour. And then you find the tools that work for you. And and some people like certain brands of paint, and some people like different brushes, and it's actually part of the fun and the experience and the journey of becoming an illustrator or an artist, is to keep trying all sorts of things and seeing what works best for you. Illustrators just generally love playing with all sorts of different art materials, and I think most artists like that. It's, you know, ooh, nice new pens and pencils to play with. I think we're all a bit like that. As an illustrator, you can spend hours and hours getting sort of tiny little details right, and you can get very obsessed, thinking, oh, that doesn't look right, that doesn't look right. And in fact, it's just because you're working so close to the thing that you can see all the mistakes. Nobody else will ever see the mistakes. It's kind of learning not what you can get away with, but what doesn't bother other people. Maybe I can put some little stars in later on Photoshop or something like that, just to make it a bit more pizzazz. I'm going to paint this in watercolour, but you may have painted things yourself in watercolour before and found that the paper ruckles and warps and buckles, and so what I'm doing here is I'm got masking tape and I'm stretching out the paper onto a board, which means that when the brush wets the paper, then it kind of loosens the fibres, and that's what makes all the shrinking and the ruckling, and then afterwards then the paper kind of shrinks back again, a little bit smaller than before. That's where all the ruckling comes in. So if you stretch out the paper beforehand, like this, then it still kind of goes a little bit soft and loosens up, but as it shrinks back again, it shrinks flat back to its original position because it can't kind of distort the paper. Then it'll go nice and flat in the scanner. And I know this looks like a tiny little set of watercolours, and it is a tiny little set of watercolours. This is the set I take with me when I go on holiday, go off weekends to friends and parties and things like that. If I do a little picture in my sketchbook, I have this little watercolour set with me. So I know this set very well, but I've got another set here which has got more colours, and so I'm using this as for the basic, because I know these colours well. You get to know your toolkit, as I suppose was what it is, and you get to know your particular tools. And now that I've painted it, I'm not happy with it. So there's only one thing to do, is to draw it again.
And so that's what I did. I got a new piece of paper, I put it over the top of the artwork I just finished, and I redrew it.
I'm going to leave out that backhand because I think that's just confusing things. I think, each time you kind of redraw it, you get a little bit more fluid and different. You kind of draw different things. And here we go again. So you're probably wondering, how often do I restart a picture like this? I think maybe partly the problem is that I'm doing this video, and so I'm not kind of, I suppose, fully concentrating on doing the artwork. So half my mind is on giving a running commentary, so that might be part of the problem. But I think also when you start a new project, it takes a couple of goes just to, it's kind of like a warm-up, I suppose, to get the feel for quite what you're doing. I think also there are there's all these theories of the different parts of the brain that do various different things. Painting will use a different part of the brain to the talking part of your brain, or the words part of your brain. So words, I think, are right brain, and pictures are left brain, or the other way around. And so while you're sort of using one side of your brain, the other starts to go a little bit duh. And I think sometimes you do some things and you think, oh no, that's not right, I wish I'd done it the other way. I think I'm going to try and keep this Segatendo character very simple. I think it got a bit too complicated before. I'm all for simplicity, I love simplicity, but it's very easy to just think, oh, I'll just add a little bit more here, like I'm doing now, just add a bit more colour and shade, and before you know it, it's all got complicated again. Yes, I think if I hadn't been sort of talking for the video, I'd have maybe had that thought beforehand. I'd have stopped and thought, what colour shall I be doing these things? But it doesn't matter. You can always do it again. I think that's one of the lessons you learn the older you get. When you see artists on the TV and things, they just get on and do it, and slapdash, on goes the paint and out comes a masterpiece. And some people are like that, but not everybody is like that, and a lot of people particularly me, I had to make lots of mistakes and practice and rehearse and chop and change and make it different and add and come back to the beginning and start all over again. And it's not failure, it's just improving each time. But I think a lot of people see it as failure and get very disheartened. And, you know, to be good at anything, you have to fail a lot, which is a sad fact. And I think if you can get over that failure thing, you know, yeah, okay, so it's, you know, you didn't get it right this time, but you nearly got it right. If you get something wrong, then the thing is to look at your piece of work and go, where did that go wrong? Why isn't it right? And how can I make it better? What do I need to do next time? And you kind of analyse the bits you got wrong. And then what you need to do is, having done all that, then you have to look at your picture again and think, yeah, but what did I do right? What was the good bit? When you find something, you think, oh, that bit's good. You know, it might just be a tiny little bit. And you think, oh, that was good. I'm proud of that. And then you leave it at that point with, you know, feeling positive about your work rather than, it's a failure. Think, no, that bit was good. And next time, the next version is going to be brilliant because I'm going to get it right. So you always leave a piece of work congratulating yourself on the bit that you did get right, because that's really important. And here I'm doing a quick little sketch which I worked out with these two characters. Gareki, here's an AI character in the story, so I can make him look weird with a weird hairstyle like that. And they're kind of in a mixed up kind of game of Mario Kart and crossing other things. So anything, I thought I'd have them zooming around on a Mario Kart like this, because I need little vignettes for the back of the book. And then I thought, and a vignette is kind of a little isolated picture, just a small little thing like this. And I thought if I did vignettes for the back of the picture, then they could also go inside the book as well and sort of make it a bit more interesting like that. I think I can paint this without stretching the paper and taping it onto the board because it's such a little illustration. It's not going to distort the paper too much, I don't think. I could probably give him green hair, couldn't I think. And then I'll go back and read the story to find that he has a particular coloured hair. Looks a bit like the Joker, doesn't he, from Batman. I think it's maybe almost time to order myself a new brush, I think, because they do wear out if you use them quite a lot. And then we probably just need some little bits of shade just to accentuate some parts. You know, what I could do is put shadow around here, but I'm not going to do that because that's going to complicate the whole thing. I just want to be able to cut this out on Photoshop and stick it neatly on top on the back, or, you know, along with other little pictures. There we go. I'm happy with that, and that means that that story is done. Thanks for watching, and you can support this channel and get so much more on my Patreon page. Click to find out more. Make sure you are subscribed to the Shoe Rainer Drawing channel on YouTube, and in the meantime, keep drawing, practice, and I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye bye.